Hey everyone and welcome! Today we are diving deep into one of mythology's most epic stories, the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean. But we're not just going to retell an old story, oh no. We're going to dig into a really surprising theory about where this massive cosmic event actually happened. And trust me, the answer is probably not where you think.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with the big question. If you had to drop a pin on a map, where would you say the churning of the ocean took place? Your first thought is probably somewhere out in the open sea, right? But what if that's not the whole picture?
Right, the most logical guess would be a major body of water, like the Arabian Sea. It makes sense. But there's this fascinating theory that suggests the true location wasn't an ocean at all. It was a place that, today, is hundreds of miles inland. And that's where this whole mystery really kicks off.
So, how in the world could an ocean churning happen so far from the coast? Well, to get our heads around that, we have to completely rethink what the world looked like back then. The key to this entire puzzle is buried in ancient geography.
Okay, so this one idea basically flips the entire map of ancient India on its head. The theory goes that way back when, long before rivers like the Ganges built up the plains we know today, huge chunks of eastern India were just underwater. The rivers hadn't dropped enough silt to create that landmass yet. So that ancient submerged region is our new search area.
All right, so now that we have a possible location, let's talk about the gear. I mean, you don't just churn an entire ocean with a kitchen whisk. No, for this, you needed some serious, and I mean serious, cosmic machinery.
And when I say immense, I mean absolutely colossal. The churning rod wasn't a stick, it was an entire mountain, Mandar Parvat. The base needed to keep that mountain stable, that was Vishnu himself in his tortoise form, Kurma. And the rope, well, for a job this big, they needed something truly gigantic, Vasuki, the king of all serpents.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. To churn an ocean with a mountain, you need a rope of almost unimaginable size and strength. And in all of creation, there was nothing, literally nothing, that could do the job except for Vasuki. It just goes to show you the mind-boggling scale we're talking about here.
And if you need another way to picture just how huge he was, get this. Vasuki was so massive he couldn't just travel from his home in the Himalayas to the churning site without causing, total chaos. So Lord Shiva himself had to step in, wrapping the giant serpent king around his wrist like a bracelet just to move him. What a picture that paints, right?
Okay, so everything's in place. The machinery is ready to go. But, like with any truly grand plan, things are about to go terribly, terribly wrong. The act of churning itself was about to unleash a threat to all of existence.
So you've got the gods pulling one way, the demons pulling the other, but can you just imagine being the rope in this cosmic tug of war? The friction from Mount Mandar grinding on Vasuki's back was causing him unbearable pain. And in his agony, he let out this desperate breath, and out came Halahal, a poison so lethal it could dissolve the entire cosmos. Suddenly, this project had turned into a full-blown cosmic emergency.
So you've got gods and demons, the most powerful beings, literally running for their lives. All of existence is just hanging by a thread. A hero was needed, and fast. And in this moment of pure crisis, one figure stepped forward.
And that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? The very beings who started this whole thing were now fleeing in terror. The poison was too much for anyone, so who could possibly contain something that could literally unmake reality itself?
This is where Lord Shiva, Mahadev, steps in and does something nobody could have imagined. He gathered the entire cloud of Halahal and drank it, all of it. But instead of letting it go down, he held that cosmic poison right in his throat. And it's what turned his throat that famous shade of blue, which is why he's often called Neelkant, the blue-throated one. He saved everything.
But wait, he wasn't finished. After saving the entire universe, Shiva turned to Vasuki, who was still in agony. He healed the great serpent, and for this incredible act of compassion, he earned a new title, Vaidyanath, which means the Lord of Physicians. He became the original doctor, even before Dhanvantari, the actual god of medicine, came out of that same churning.
Okay, so let's connect all these dots. We've got the story, the characters, the major events. The whole idea here is that these legendary events didn't just disappear into thin air. They left actual physical marks on the land itself.
So, here it is. This is the heart of the whole geographical argument. The churning rod, Mandar Parvat, is a real hill you can visit today in Banka, Bihar. The place where Shiva is said to have rested with Vasuki is now known as Vasukanath in Jharkhand, and the exact spot where Shiva drank the poison and healed the serpent, where he became Vaidyanath, is the location of the famous Vaidyanath Dham temple in Deoghar.
You see how the pieces start to click into place? The geography, the place names, the stories, they all seem to line up. And get this whole region, Jharkhand, Bihar, Bengal, is famous for being incredibly rich in minerals and gems, the very treasures that were supposed to come out of the churning. It really does create a compelling picture.
But hold on, we're not quite done yet, because there is one final, almost unbelievable detail mentioned in the source material. Something that is said to be a physical object that you can still find today, a direct link to the churning itself.
So after drinking all that poison, Shiva's throat was, on fire. To soothe that burning heat, a piece of the moon itself, one of the treasures from the churning, was placed in the temple right above him. This gem, called the Chandrakantmani or moon gem, is said to constantly drip cool water onto the deity below, a practice they say that continues to this day.
And really, that brings us to one last, really fascinating question to chew on. When you see how these places line up, how their very names echo the story, and how legends like the moon gem still persist, it makes you wonder about that blurry line between myth and history. Can a story leave a physical trace on a map? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer.